Welcome back. This video is going to show you how to edit images in Photoshop with the Marquee tool. If you've already watched the previous video, some of this might be a repeat. I'm just getting Photoshop open through that Start menu, Adobe Design and Web Premium, and then scroll to find Adobe Photoshop CS6. While this is opening, remember this is Photoshop running on a virtual desktop as if it were on a PC. So some things are going to be a little bit different. I'm going to go to File, Open, and I have this Photoshop Exercise 3 folder, and I'm just going to choose some of these images. Now, because I'm on a PC, I'm holding the Control key and only selecting some of the images. I'm not sure which one I want to use, so I may as well just open them all and then look at them and go from there. All right, I think I'm going to choose the one with the giraffe drinking water because it's cute. So the Marquee tool, second tool over in the left hand side in your toolbar, second tool down is the Marquee tool. And when I click and hold on it, you'll see that there are 4 different kinds. We're going to look at rectangular and elliptical marquee. Now, if you've watched the how to use the lasso tool in Photoshop, some of this is a little redundant. I'm selecting that first one, the rectangular marquee. So what the selection does is whatever I tell the computer to do, it will only do that in the selection that I make. So I'm in a rectangle marquee, so I'm going to click and hold my clicker, and I'm just going to draw this rectangle, and I'm clicking and holding, and then I let go. Quick review, these little dots that are moving around, those are what we call the dancing ants, and they're called dancing ants, not marching ants, because to get rid of it, let's say I don't want that selection, Control D, and that selection goes away, and D is for dancing. So I'm going to do that again. Click and hold, and I'm dragging my marquee. Now, just like the lasso tool, the next thing I tell Photoshop to do, it will only do that within this area that I've selected. So this time, let's try a filter, and I'll go to my filter gallery. If you've not used filters before, this will be a quick little preview. So there's my selection, and I can go over here, and there's all kinds of filters. Just try them out. They all do different things. Have some fun with it, play around with it. I might choose, I don't know, let's just go with that. And I can change these settings in here. This is more about the Marquee tool than it is about the filter. I just wanted to show you that you had some other options of what you can do. So I click OK. And now you can't really see it when it's this small, but the edit I made only happened within that filtered or in that selected area, excuse me. I'm going to try to do one that's a little bit, did not open, a little bit more interesting so that you can see it a little bit better. So you can see what happens. Let's go like this. And I can change the size of these things. All right, let's see if we can see that one a little bit better. Sure. So now you can see the edit I made only happened within that selection. And then if I hit Control D, those dancing ants go away. Now we want to use the rectangular marquee with and without feathering. So if you remember from the lasso video, your feathering is up here in your sub menu. This time I'll change my feathering to 50. And I'm going to draw the same rectangle right beneath the other one. And you'll see how now my corners are very rounded. I'm just going to do a quick image adjustments edit here. Let's throw in a photo filter. Maybe I'm going to give it a magenta, no, violet, one of my favorite colors. A little violet filter. I can increase the density of it. You can also click right on that color and change it. Just play around with these when you're doing them. Of course, if you want to try to make something fun and cool, go for it. I really just want you guys to learn how to use these tools. So Control D again, and now I have the soft edge. The cool thing about the rectangular marquee is if I hold the Shift key, and now when I drag, it's only going to let me drag a square. So you can see, well, that's a square with rounded feathery corners because my feathering was set at 50. Okay, remember, you must set your feathering before your selection. You can't change it once you've already made the selection. So if I want to make a square, a real square, I hold the Shift key, and now you can see that will give me a square with a crisp edge versus the last one with a 50 feathering. So I'm going to go back in my history and get rid of all of that. So that's the rectangular marquee. Now, if I click over on my marquee tool and I choose the elliptical marquee, it does the same thing, but instead it makes an ellipse. So my feathering is at 0. I drag, which is essentially an oval. Let's try a gradient map just to show you something different. Gradient map goes black and white, but if I click inside of that, I could choose some crazy colors. Again, I'm being silly. You guys can try to make something a little bit more interesting. Control D gets rid of those dancing ants. I can also change the feathering on my rectangular marquee. Go to 20, and then I could do something again. I'll just do another image adjustment, and let's try threshold just so you can see what threshold does. And you can always drag anytime there's these little things, you can drag these around and see what happens. Again, mine looks stupid. You guys can do a better job. I just want to show you how the tool works. And then the same with the rectangle and the elliptical marquee. If I hold the shift key now, it will only let me draw a circle in case you want a perfect circle. And again, my feathering was at 20, so I have a soft edge, where if I had done it with 0 feathering, I would have a crispy edge. So that is how to use the marquee tool. Different uses for this. You could make a selection and copy and paste it. You could edit just an area of image. Whatever it is you want to do, that tool is an option there for you. So in this one image, you're going to make these 4 edits: rectangular marquee with and without feathering, and the elliptical marquee with and without feathering. And again, experiment and make some edits. Try some different tools in Photoshop that you've not used before. Up in this image adjustments, there's lots of cool things that you can play around with and see what they do. If you don't know what they do, you can Google them or just experiment. You always have the history that you can go back and undo what you did. Once you're done in this image, excuse me, with those 4 edits, you're going to go up to your top menu and do a file save as. You want to make sure you're saving in that Photoshop Exercise 3 folder or whatever folder that you've made. Here's my IMG 0012. In between the 12 and the .jpg, I am going to call this marquee, MARQUEE. Now, it's a JPEG file, which is exactly what I want. If for some reason, let's say you copy and pasted and you have a new layer, that's going to be a Photoshop file. So make sure you save it as a Photoshop file and as a JPEG. But we absolutely need the JPEG. So I have my JPEG. I saved it. When that JPEG options comes up, you just click OK. Now, before I quit this, I'm just going to go back to that Photoshop exercise folder, make sure I have my original image and my edited image. I'm going to need both of those to submit this assignment. And that's how you use the marquee tool in Photoshop.